So for weeks, we have waited for Kamala Harris to articulate any policies whatsoever. You go to her website, she has no policies. She doesn't want to do sit-down in-depth interviews. You say, Kamala, what do you have to say on the border? She goes, I love that restaurant. Well, Kamala Harris just unveiled her first policy whatsoever, and it's actually just Trump's policy from 2 months ago that he got raked over the coals for by the mainstream media. You guys know I just call it like I see it, but CBS News said former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years. Now, the same CBS News says Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Let me preface this by saying I don't work for Donald Trump, the RNC, I don't work for Kamala Harris or the DNC. The only thing I'm beholden to is the truth, but the fact of the matter is, when Kamala Harris says no tax on tips, she's praised, she's a genius. When Trump says it, he's a bad guy. Now, this is from the actual IRS website in 2023. They say IRS introduces new service industry tip reporting program. So under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they want to crack down on your tips. Now, you guys know I'm the type of person who loves to comb through information and really do the research. When you look at the fine print, part of the impetus for cracking down on tips, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, is that $1.66 billion of tips went unreported in 2016. Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote in the Senate to hire 87,000 new IRS agents over the next 10 years. If you think they're not going to be cracking down on tips, you're joking. Now, once again, we're all supposed to have amnesia like Men in Black and just wipe our brains and forget all of that ever happened. And Kamala Harris, she's our savior. The way Kamala Harris is going on the stump and campaigning really reminds me of the show Catfish. Let me explain. So on Catfish, you would think you're getting one thing, and when you show up, it's something completely different. You might think you're talking to a 6-foot-tall supermodel online, and when you show up, they look like Gollum. Now, Kamala Harris, she's being propped up by the mainstream media. They're all loving on her right now. She's on the cover of Time magazine with the caption, "Her Moment." Kamala Harris is out on the campaign trail promising the world. She's going to fix inflation, fix the economy, fix the Middle East. Now she's going to fix the border. Now she's going to do no tax on tips. Let me just tell you, Joe Biden promised a lot of the same things in 2020, and they did a whole bait and switch Catfish. Imagine you win the lottery and you go online to buy a red-hot new Ferrari. You're all excited, you go to the dealership to pick up the Ferrari, and it's actually just a beat-up little jalopy with busted windows, a leaky engine, and no headlights. That's what Kamala Harris is doing right now. She's advertising herself as a red-hot new Ferrari. We're all supposed to forget everything that came before, but when you go to pick it up, it's a beat-up little jalopy. What you have to understand about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is that they are just vessels for the Democratic elite and the donor class. They don't actually stand for anything. They're just going to push the agenda they're being told to. If Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democratic elite could have fixed all of these issues the last few years, they would have done that. So Kamala Harris now promising all these things, I'm not buying it. I'm not as trusting. Maybe I have trust issues. We're really supposed to believe that the exact same people in Washington, D.C. who oversaw horrible inflation, the worst immigration crisis in American history, war in Ukraine, war in the Middle East, are suddenly going to fix everything and make us a utopia. I'm not buying it. All right, thank you guys for liking and following. Drop a comment, tell me what you think about Kamala Harris, the no tax on tips, the corrupt mainstream media. I will see you on the next one. Bye.